Much has been made, perhaps too much, of the fact that I wasn't told much, if anything, about who my biological father was when I was a child. I was named after him, John Wallace Blunt, Jr. I knew he'd been a flyer, a pilot in the war. The story I first heard was that he and my mom were married and divorced before I was born. I had his name, but no one in my family was willing to say much to me about him, about who he was. It was much later, I was already in my 50s, when I discovered that this man, John Wallace Blunt, had had other children, and it was those children, my half-siblings, who found me, and I learned more about him. All I've said is that when someone keeps a secret of that magnitude from a child, the secret has a way of becoming more important than what the facts really were. I imagine, for example, that there must have been something about this man that my mom and my stepfather, my uncles, my aunts, to some degree, even my cousins, were trying to protect me from by not talking about him. Well, it was inevitable that, therefore, I should imagine that there was something terribly wrong about him. And, as a consequence, imagine that everything I felt might be wrong with me came from him. That there was something about him. Was he a killer? Was he some awful guy? Well, no, as it turned out, he wasn't. He was very much a present and a loving father to these other children he'd had. It wasn't much of a secret at all, only to me. But it became a great thing to write about because I was so much forced to imagine who this father I never saw was. But secrets, things kept from characters in novels, especially characters as children, has long been a propelling force in literature. Think of Dickens. Think of how many things Pip got wrong in imagining his life and who was looking after him in Great Expectations. Think of Oliver Twist. Think of David Copperfield. Whenever you keep a secret from a child, the child is going to imagine why. Well, the premise for that, as a good story, has always been good. I don't know that I needed the experience of personally not being told anything about my father in order to become an imaginative writer, but it surely helped.